Kontakt z Radiem Pryzmat. Redakcja @radiopryzmat.pl.
Poza rządem. Program o organizacjach pozarządowych.
Hello, my name is Irmina. I'm the employee and member of STRIM Association, and its program EVS Streaming Live. Once per month, we discover different aspects and stories of European voluntary service, and through meetings with the people who are actually volunteering in Krakow. And today I invited two guests, special guests, who are coming to us from a very different countries and cultures. And I wanted to discuss with them how they feel here living in Krakow. Do they experience something called cultural shock? How is all this adaptation going on? Because they came here for 9 months project, which is quite a lot. And I hope they will tell us more about this, what they're exactly doing here. And my guests tonight are...
My name is Iris. I am from the Netherlands and I'm doing an EVS project in Polish word, Klub Kultury Przegozałe. And I'm 25 years old.
Hey, I'm Milenko. I come from Bosnia and I'm doing my EVS project in kindergarten, number 83. And I'm 23 years old, so still young.
As we all here. And you came for the EVS projects, and I was thinking like to ask you first, maybe is it your first time on the radio? Did you participate in this kind of activity, or it's the first time for you?
For me, I've been twice before on the radio, but once I was in Slovenia when I was living there, and it was very funny because they could not broadcast English language, so I was synchronized with the Slovene language, which was very funny.
Okay, and you, Milenko?
For me, I actually, as a kid, like 15 years ago, I was participating in a kid radio show, like every Saturday morning around 8 or 9, we had to sing songs, traditional for our language, for our culture, and to talk about some stuff that are interested for kids. Yeah, that was so the script and everything.
You're both professionals, nothing new, but at least during this EVS project, I guess this is the first time, maybe not the last, when you can share some stories. And I wanted to ask you first, about the cultural shock, the idea of cultural shock, that is our topic for tonight. How can you translate this into your native language? Is there any translation, and how does it sound? Just to know, for us to have a sound of it.
Well, I needed to put this word into Google Translate because actually I had no idea how we say it in Dutch, but it's very similar. It's cultuurschok.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in Bosnian it's kulturalni šok, so it's a lot similar.
Okay, that sounds almost like Polish. Good. I'm not going to even try to repeat the Dutch version. It is a bit harsh to me. Great. And I was wondering, before coming here for your EVS project, for this big adventure in Poland, did you have some particular expectations? Have you had some experience about Polish people or living in Poland?
I have been living with a Polish girl in Slovenia for half a year in one room, so I got to know the Polish politeness. But besides that, I didn't know much about Poland. I once watched a documentary about Poland during the financial crisis, and Poland was more or less the only European country that was doing really well. And that's more or less all I knew about Poland.
Was it the reason that encouraged you to come here for EVS? Or
the financial crisis?
Yes.
No, it was not.
There are some different reasons. All right. And Milenko, for you,
for me,
Poland?
It's actually a funny story because I'll be honest, I hated Poland. I don't know the reason, but I didn't really like the people that I met. But then through the actual EVS, because we had 4 EVS volunteers from Poland in my hometown, and I was mentoring them, with their help and their stories about Poland, about cities, about starting to learning a bit of Polish language and learning actually how similar it is to my language, I started falling in love, let's say, with Poland a bit.
Okay, so through some personal experience, you decided actually to come here and like to meet your expectations, right?
Yes, exactly.
Interesting. And back in your countries, because also like I think it's very important here that we have someone from Holland, and that could be a bit different word than Bosnia, and then Poland, let's say, between them. And I'm wondering about how and is Poland as a country or Polish people, are they associated with something, you know, I think here about some maybe stereotypes or maybe some picture, general picture of how is the Polish culture. Did you meet something like this back in your countries?
Yes, I think so, because we have quite a lot of Polish people in the Netherlands. A lot of them are working over there. And I think in general Dutch people think that everyone who's living more east than Germany is some kind of wild person, maybe also criminal. So I think in general people have prejudices about Polish people, and also that they are really hard workers.
Okay.
So these are general ideas in the Netherlands. I think differently.
All right.
Actually, we go back to Bosnia. Thinking about Polish people in my countries, we actually love them, because in the war there was a lot of Polish soldiers that actually came to help us, and we have a bit of love to Polish people especially the older people.
Okay, so there are some bonds related with what happened in the past, and the picture is pretty positive from what you're saying. And I wanted to ask you about the cultural differences from like everyday, let's say, experience. So maybe when you think from about the first moments when you came here, and was there something you remember, or something particularly like different? Because now I think you are like more and more used to, right? Because you started your project in October, both of you, right?
Yeah.
So, but think of the beginnings and think if there was something that you still remember, like, oh, that's different. Maybe I don't like it, or maybe I like it more. Was there something like this?
Yes, there was definitely something like this. For example, in public transportation, everybody gets up for old people, and if you don't, they are kind of getting angry. For me, that's very different, because in the Netherlands, I think there are less people traveling with transportation, maybe, but also young people would put in their music in their ears, and they would not get up.
Interesting. Yeah, that's like totally cultural, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in Polish culture, it's a matter of you are polite or not, and sometimes we have difficulties to imagine that it's not really about being polite or not. It's just something cultural, right? Because we are born to not born, but we are raised, we are learned, we are taught to do so. That's very interesting. Also, to many of my foreign friends, they're saying this, that they receive the looks in the public transport, right? If they don't get up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have to agree with Darius on that, because also back in my place, young people are a bit rude and don't have much respect to elderly people, and here it's totally different. But anything much, I wouldn't say that I noticed, because I must say that we are a lot of similar people. Polish people and Bosnian people, we are a lot similar. So our drinks and our dinners, lunches are also the similar, because we have a lot actually the same stuffs, same food, just different names.
All right, and that's also very, very interesting.
I would like to add one thing. I think religion is very present in the Polish culture. On the streets, if you talk to the people, it's everywhere. And in the Netherlands, actually nowhere. If you would say, I believe in something, Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Strange. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good and I would say controversial point because as you could probably see even in your organizations, like the cross on the wall, it's more or less everywhere, and it's kind of really part of the religion is really like mixed within the culture. And I just wanted to go back a little bit to what Milenko said. Could you give some examples of the dish that it's like similar but has a different name, and then what would be the Bosnian name? Sorry.
I could actually make, let's say, traditional Polish pierogi. We have them in Bosnia, and we call them školjkice.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like seashells. Yeah, it's the same, exactly the same. The preparing process, the end result is the same. Just the name is different. And at first I was like, okay, it's traditional for Poland, but I'm eating it for past 23 years in Bosnia. And
that's very, very, very nice, beautiful. I've been in Bosnia, but I didn't know about this dish. Do you think there is something else now coming in your mind about some drinks or some dish that it's kind of similar and can still be a surprise for Polish people that it's actually existing as something traditional in different country?
Oh, of course, if you think of Bosnia and about food, and if you're talking about that topic, you need to mention, of course, burek and cevapi.
Okay.
Okay, it's cevapi are also traditional in Serbia, but I think the best cevapi you can eat in Bosnia, and of course, burek. And don't be fooled, the burek is only with meat. Because we have a constant, let's say, a war between Serbia and Bosnia, because burek actually comes from Turkey and it's with meat. But in Serbia, they call burek with everything. Burek with cheese, with potatoes, but burek is only with meat, trust me.
Okay, yeah, we have a burek in Poland. That's a very common name for a dog. I don't know if you knew that. That's a very common name for like a village dog. So you are kind of close to the truth, because we started to say about dishes that are similar, that are same, or things or dishes. Do you have burek in Holland?
No, we don't have burek. We also have kebab, so that is something similar, but no burek. No.
So maybe you can just explain in a few words, Milenko, what is burek, because I know what is this, but maybe needs to be enlightened.
Okay, it would be a bit hard in English, but okay.
It's a kind of pie?
Yeah, it's a pie, but I don't know because we have a lot of influence from America, and I don't know what a pie for people is, actually. Because you usually have, like, you make a dough. It's dough, yeah. And you need to roll it on the table, and then you make like stripes, actually like a tubes, and then you fill it with meat. If you want burek, you fill it with meat, and of course onions. Some people also like just a bit of rice or a bit of potatoes mixed, but if you search for clear burek, only meat and onions.
Okay.
And of course you need to bake it. The end result, and of course the best ingredient to add at the end is pavlaka with garlic, and it's pure heaven.
All right, I feel like you started this topic of the food, and we will definitely continue this, trying to think of the cuisine differences are also cultural differences. So we'll go back to this, and I'm also looking forward to hear about is the way of cooking or the eating culture different in Netherlands than in Poland, and different in Bosnia than in Poland, maybe, or maybe it's so similar. Just please don't mix up burek, the Polish burek, with the Bosnian burek, because they are two different things. And you will always remember the burek, the village dog. You can ask your children in the kindergarten; they will know if you ask them what is burek. We will listen again the band called Seastock, and the song is called Happy Whistling Ukulele. So ukulele again.
Poza rządem. Program o organizacjach pozarządowych.
Program EVS Streaming Live again. So Irmina and her guests, so me and my guests, Iris and Milenko, and we are discussing the different aspects of the cultural differences because my guest came from abroad to realize their voluntary service here for 9 months in Krakow. And just before the ukulele music break, we started the topic of the cuisine. That is a huge topic and has a lot to do with the culture. So please tell me, Iris, is the way of thinking of food or cooking different than to what you are used to back home here in Poland?
Yes, definitely. The first weeks I was very surprised, first of all, by the rhythm of eating. For example, Polish people like to eat around, okay, I still don't know because it really differs between people, but for example, at 3 they have something which they call dinner, but sometimes also tak, but also sometimes lunch. It's very confusing because in the Netherlands we have breakfast with sandwich with cheese around 8 o'clock. At 12, stipped at 12, we will have another sandwich with cheese, or maybe 2 or 3 or 4, depends. And then at 6 in the evening, really at 6, we have dinner, which is a hot meal. And if we eat soup, that is something we eat with our sandwich during lunch. And so the role of soups is very different in Poland, and also the hour of eating, and also the cuisine, I would say, because, for example, Polish people use a lot of dill, this kind of herb, in soups and on the pasta and on salads, everywhere. It's important. And I really like it. And in the Netherlands, we only eat it with fish, I think.
Different, very different, yes, what you're telling.
Yes.
And Milenko, is it like same?
It's actually
the attitude towards the cuisine.
A lot of people actually miss breakfast. Like we are a lot of, especially in my part from Bosnia where I come from, a lot of people just don't eat breakfast. They just skip breakfast, go to work, to go do something. If they take breakfast, they usually take something outside, fast food or something. And young people don't cook. That's like, if you are young, if you are living alone, you will never turn on your stove to cook something. You will only eat fast food or eventually go for a lunch to your mom's place. And that's the difference because here I cook a lot. And if I compare it to back in my town, when I lived alone, I was like, okay, I know, actually here I know how to cook. And I realized that I know some things I didn't know before. The breakfast we usually skip. Lunch is usually around 3 or 4. And then dinner is around 8, 8:30 in the night. It depends. If it's weekends, maybe a bit earlier, because young people are going outside, but during the work days it's usually around 8, 8:30 in the night.
Okay, and I guess back in Bosnia, rather burek than sandwich with cheese, or
of course burek.
Okay.
Burek with yogurt.
The keyword. Nice. And when I think about food, something that is that might be related. I think for us it's very important when we have some celebrations to have, the meals that a certain family or friends like, or to cook something, to make some homemade food. And so I wanted to combine these things and ask you about some celebrations, some holidays. Did you participate in some since you came? So like already a few months passed, maybe a birthday, maybe some kind of, I don't know, domówka, like the housewarming party, that is also kind of a tradition for us, or maybe Zaduszki on 1st November. We celebrate this day when we recall all the dead persons from families, basically. So there are quite quite many things going on, and I think they are very important to us to keep the festivity and celebration on the track and to enrich it with good food, if possible. So I wanted to ask you if you experienced something like this, being around Polish people and participating in some celebration, yes and not. And then if you could say, what are your plans about Christmas time that is coming? Will you have a possibility to experience it in a Polish way, if you think?
Well, concerning the Polish Celebrations Day, on the 1st of November I went to the graveyard. I really don't remember the name, but it was in Krakow, the biggest one, famous one, I think.
It's Cmentarz Rakowicki, I guess, maybe.
Tak, exactly.
Dobrze.
So yeah, I went there, and St. Andrew's Day I celebrated with some of the children in my cultural club. So we did this thing with the candles. I'm not sure if it's traditional, but making drops with the candle in the water, and then I don't know what's the purpose, because the children hold it in their hands, and then this candle stuff is everywhere, but okay, it's probably nice. And we did a lot of games with them. And other celebrations day, Independence Day, I was hiding. And for Christmas, I don't have any plans yet.
All right. So just to, I hope you will have possibility to maybe experience it in a Polish way this year or next. It's something very important to us. And then speaking about St. Andrew's Day, the thing that you try to do, so if you want, the thing is you make a shape from the wax, and then you put the shape, you need to have some light, and this little thing that you created from the wax, it was created on the water, it throws some shadow on the wall, and you just need to see what kind of shadow is it, and it's telling something about your future. It's about something that will happen in your future. So it's a bit complicated, but if you even did the first part, that is just throwing the wax and playing with children, that's cool. It counts.
I'll go back on Andrzejki and say that we also did it in our kindergarten. Put hot wax through a key into cold water, and I got the shape of a ballerine or a princess. Oh. I think it's a princess, actually.
I think that's meaningful.
Yeah, I think I will get married rich for a princess in a big castle, like in every fairy tale.
Or you will start a career as a ballerina. I mean, you can never know what happens after EVS or during EVS, you know.
That's also a thing to consider, actually.
Very interesting. Like the only, let's say, past celebration that I didn't mention was the St. Andrews, and it turned out that you both participated, and I think it's very old-fashioned and old, but really nice tradition, and we try to still do it. And so leaving this beautiful and nice and colorful things a bit on the side, I wanted to ask you about let's say a bit more like difficult or dark side, if there is any, about living here, but when you think about some things that are kind of cultural, so for example communication with people, or that there is something you see and you don't really get or you don't really like. So if you could think if there is something about cultural differences that it's kind of bothering you.
Well, first of all, for me the language is quite difficult, and I'm working with Polish people, I'm living with Polish people, and I live a bit outside the city, so that is sometimes difficult. And in the Polish culture, well, I don't have any feelings with religion, so I mean, it doesn't bother me, but okay. And also the attitude towards foreigners sometimes is maybe, I don't know, something I have to get used to here in Poland, and I think that's it.
And by attitude, you mean do you meet some, like someone was surprised that you are not Polish or that you don't talk Polish, or?
Well, I did not have personal experiences yet, fortunately, but some friends who look maybe less Polish than I do, they had some difficulties that people were saying, okay, you don't speak Polish, so why are you here?
I see. It can be harsh sometimes, right?
Yes.
And for you, Milenko?
I need to tell a little story because I still don't know how to properly speak Polish, but I can understand quite a lot of things. And sometimes I even find myself that I know more than I know. But still there are a lot of occasions where I'm just staring blankly at the people when they ask me something, and if I don't understand, I don't reply in English, I reply to them in Polish. Przepraszam, nie mówię po polsku. And they are quite lost when they try to ask me something in Polish and I reply to them in Polish that I don't speak Polish. They look at me really strange. But except that, so far, luckily, I didn't encounter any problem with people. Actually, when they found out that I'm from Bosnia, they are more warmer to me. They're more open, more want to talk about my culture, about my country, about the same things. For example, some words that are the same with different meanings. Yeah, so far for me, it's been really nice here. The people were treating me really nice in the kindergarten, in the street, in the clubs. Yeah.
That's cool. So, like, as you're saying, they're looking for similarities rather than the differences, right?
Exactly.
That's great. And just bringing back what Iris said, the thing is that, like, sometimes I feel like I'm a bit repeating myself because I'm dealing with this like problematics and topic of multiculturalism like quite often, and it's really interesting for me. And what I used to say is that, but which is the truth, that we are, I believe we are still pretty homogeneous, right? Homogeneous as the society. So the thing is that like if we try to generalize, which of course we shouldn't do, but it might be that that someone is different. It's kind of a label that it's with you. So you go with this label everywhere, right? To work, to the shop, and then of course if you speak some Polish, that helps a lot. But it takes a lot of time for people to like for random people just to accept you how you are without this label of the foreigner, even maybe speaking Polish. So I think it's changing, but I believe we could be a bit more open, just relaxed about that someone is different, right? A bit more relaxed. And I just want to have another little quick music break. And the band that is with us tonight is still C-Stock, and the song is called Modern Garage Rock.
Poza rządem. Program o organizacjach pozarządowych.
EVS Streaming Live, and tonight Iris and Milenko talking about cultural differences. We talk about how is life, how is culture in Bosnia, in Netherlands and in Poland. And during the music you were just discussing about Iris was just like explaining us that it's not that she's like negative, she knows a lot and she likes a lot of things about Polish people, and she really wants to share some of them. So please.
Yeah, that's true, because you were asking about the negative things, but I think Polish people are, as I already mentioned, very polite. I think they are very friendly and also really interested, very real in their emotions as well. They don't show it too much, but if you get close to Polish people, you really have a good friend, which I can really appreciate about people. Yeah.
Did you feel like you were among friends here now living in Krakow? Do you feel like you were living among friends? Did you make friends in Poland?
Yes, I think so. With some of my Polish teachers, yes, definitely. Yeah.
And when you said that, so you have the teachers of Polish, right? You mean in your workplace, or it's a special course that you attend?
Right now I have 7 Polish teachers, with 5 of them I meet every week. One of them is a formal teacher, and the other ones are language exchange teachers. So I teach them Dutch or English, or talk English to them. And yeah, so I have very different.
Okay, but did I understood it well that you have 7 teachers that are teaching you Polish, or it's...
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
both ways sometimes.
Okay.
So I teach them a language, and they teach me a language. And with one she is a formal teacher, and she teaches me English, Polish, and she doesn't expect anything in return.
All right. So yeah, because my next question would be about how do you use your culture as how do you share about your culture in your everyday work? It can be also during your so one of the things is like this language tandem, right? That you teach other people the language and you receive Polish instead. And if you could guys think of every day in your EVS project, how do you find the way? Do you do this? Like, do you use your culture as some kind of value, a tool that you can share with people?
I am not really here to promote my culture, I think. I'm not really a proud Dutch. Okay, the Netherlands is a fine country, but yeah, I don't really care about that. So I'm more concerned about adapting to the Polish culture instead of sharing mine. But as I'm organizing cultural activities in my cultural club, I will probably also organize a Dutch event at one point. But to be honest, I don't know yet what to tell. I don't know. The Netherlands is a nice country, but what it's famous for example, prostitution and drugs, yeah, not really topics I can really do something with, or that really interest me. So yeah, but maybe something about the Dutch welfare system, which I think is very great, but I'm not sure if Polish people are interested in that.
For sure. Anything that can bring us some, idea for a good change. And I think it's very mature and brave strategy to try to escape a bit from stereotypes and just to try to, what you are saying sounds to me like trying to adapt, to understand, to use really well the possibility of you staying here, of living here, of taking everything, trying to understand and taking everything what's happening here. So just some kind of strategy, right?
Yes, I think so. And I think that's very important, because I think if you live in another country and really sticking to your own culture, I think it's difficult for you. So I think adapting is also something that opens up your mind, and you become more critical about your own country as well, because in the beginning it's the only country you know, the only system you know, so that's for you as well the best way to do things. But there are alternatives, and I think EVS, or going abroad, is a very good way to discover those alternatives.
So alternatives, trying to adapt, then also, when it's possible, I think the idea of cultural exchange, it's this is something what is very closely related with the EVS. And Milenko, do you feel like sharing, exchanging, how it's working in your case?
Actually, at my work, in my kindergarten, kids and the teachers are quite interested in my culture, in Bosnian culture, and of course in the music from my region. And I try with every day to teach the kids something, of course some words, some kids songs, and in every day I'm trying to, sometimes I'm being rude and I'm trying to speak my language to Polish people to see if they will understand me. And quite a lot of times I catch them like, okay, they understood what I mean. They didn't understand every single word, but they understood what I want.
So you are experimenting on live organism.
So about my culture, I'm like Iris said, it's better to adapt, but sometimes in kindergarten they are like, come to me, Bosnia, a co to jest? And it's really funny and it's interesting, and it makes me, actually I must admit that I'm also not really proud of my country, because in a way, because we had only wars and a lot of nationalism and bad things, but there are those bright stars like Burek and Cevapi that we can talk about.
It's like I don't know, the motive, the leitmotif, right? That is coming back. So I guess one of the achievements in the end, that your children in your kindergarten, all children in the kindergarten, they will be like obsessed and loving. Did you cook for them already? Did you prepare something?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet.
So here a promise that you will do. Nice. And actually, Iris kind of answered already my upcoming question. That would be, how is your learning about your own culture? So if if you already can say, because maybe it's too early or maybe it's not the right question for you, but I'm interested to know if like for you, this experience of living abroad and being thrown really into like into Polish people, into Polish culture, understood more traditionally or less, but this is Poland, right? And you spend with Polish people, as you said, as you admitted, at least in your work time, like quite a majority of your day and of your weeks and months here. So I was thinking to ask you, how does it help to reflect on your own culture? In the meaning, does it make you appreciate more what you like brought from home, let's say, or it makes you feel more distance and actually, you know, like a citizen, more like citizen of the world?
Yes, indeed, I already answered that question a bit from my perspective. What I would like to add is the cultural differences on a personal level. So in the Netherlands, I think we are famous of being very honest and direct. Foreigners call it rude, I call it direct. And that is definitely something that I maybe even miss here, because I never know often I don't know what my bosses are thinking, and if I want to have feedback, I really have to drag it out of them because they won't give it me automatically. That's something that's difficult, and I was earlier I was saying I'm trying to adapt, but this is something, it's very difficult to change that, to be more indirect. If I feel something, I need to say it.
Nice observations about direct and indirect cultures. Yeah.
In my case, I must say that I feel, now that I'm here, I feel more connected with my culture, with my country, because a lot of times we do not appreciate what we have. And when you see, for example, here in Poland, I can see Polish people really being proud of Poland, and I wonder myself, okay, we have a really nice country also. Okay, like in a lot of countries we have really bad government and really complicated government actually in Bosnia, but it draws me closer to my country, to my culture, and actually, like I said, that people in my kindergarten are interested in my culture. It makes me even to learn more about my country than I didn't even know.
They identify, don't know if you heard, but there are like 4 phases of the phenomenon called cultural shock. And as you are here on your EVS adventure, you might see yourself in one of the stage, one of the phase. And I was curious to try to make you reflect, and let's see where do you see yourself now and in the future. So I would just name them, and you can think where do you see yourself now. after how many months passed? Only 3?
2.5.
2.5. So soon 3 months, which is maybe not a bit, but still, I think like if only this time passed and you have so many like thoughts and observations and comments, then in the end you will be like experts from the intercultural, I guess, communications and differences. But now, speaking about now, the phases are like the honeymoon, so you know, all happy and pink and beautiful. Then goes the frustration part, then the adjustment, so like adaptation, and then the mastery. And of course, the idea of mastering a foreign culture, it can mean different things, but basically it's about like this final phase is about when you feel like fully integrated, but you perceive your own identity, and your identity, you agree that your identity is built with different elements because you are from somewhere, but you are in a new place. And you take a lot also from this place. When the beginning of the cultural shock, so before it starts to be frustration and shock, is the honeymoon, when you are so much delighted and in love with what you see, and you don't really see the disadvantages, or nothing is really bothering you. So I just wanted to ask you if you find yourself somehow in these phases at the moment now.
Yes, I really recognize these 4 phases. For example, the honeymoon, the first week, I was doing so many new things, meeting so many new people, and it was like, wow, this is amazing. Okay, and then after some weeks, the frustration started because I started to feel a bit isolated. As I told you before, I'm living and working with Polish people. And of course, sometimes they speak English and they ask me something, but just the daily chit-chats, it's all in Polish. I was like, I don't understand, what am I doing here? Come on. But that also gave me a lot of energy to focus more on the Polish language, but that goes so incredibly slow, so I still don't understand anything. So I think I'm somewhere between frustration and adjustment, or maybe in adjustments, but this process just goes very slowly in my case.
I must say that for me, it's still honeymoon, because for me, this is the first time I'm living abroad for quite some time, and I come from a really small town, from 30,000 people, so for me, being here, being in Krakow, it's like every day there's something new. For 2.5 months, every day, every morning I go the same street to work, and every morning I'm seeing new people, different people, new stuffs, and for me I think still a bit of honeymoon is there. I'm still a bit enjoying the Krakow and the Poland.
A bit of honeymoon, that sounds so nice. I wish you guys that you will, only if you want, that you will go smoothly also to the adjustment and the mastery phase, only if you want, and if you feel like understanding even more and knowing even more and experiencing even more that you did now. I'm really impressed, I have to say, by how different experience you bring here, and that's I'm really grateful that you are willing to share. You are willing to share like openly and honestly. How do you feel at the moment? How do you feel about these cultural things? And I guess, of course, it's always like it's important to look for the similarities, but and they are like, let's say, obvious. But also sometimes it's very interesting to find these small little things that actually make the difference, and to appreciate the difference. Like that's what was my idea, and I'm really glad that you are here tonight with me to discuss. So thanks a lot for coming and sharing. And we are going like smoothly to the end, because 8 8 p.m. is coming soon. So our next program and next discussion will happen now only in New Year. Not in New Year's Eve, but in the New Year, so in 2017. And for today, thank you to Sebastian for producing the program, and Agnieszka, the usual host of Poza Rządem. Our next topic and next guests will be announced on the STRIM Facebook, so you can also check for this information on Radio Pryzmat. And just time to say good night, goodbye. Do you want guys to say some last few words?
Do zobaczenia.
Thanks for inviting us and having us here. It was a really nice evening.
I agree, and I think the same. Thanks a lot, and we leave you with the last ukulele song for tonight, Modern Inspired Acoustic. Thank you and good night.